Hey Chris, how you doing?
Good.
When you're in this kind of position and you know it's a big one, number two overall, what are the feelings you guys have in the room leading up to it and in the moment? And it's safe to say that you were kind of comfortable, however that wound up landing based on what the Pirates were going to do.
Yeah, we liked, five or six guys that we kicked around, but the Skeens kid and Dylan kind of separated themselves from the pack a little bit. Um, Dylan's a really good player, good tools, great makeup kid. Um, Profiles in center field, runs well, strong arm, kind of an advanced college hitter. He's got the hardware to go with it. Two-time SEC Player of the Year. Um, but those were the primarily the two guys that separated themselves from the group. And you're picking that high, it's kind of takes care of itself. And then a lot of the work, most of the work, actually went into pick 40.
Yeah. So as you watch both guys, not just this year, but like this year, at LSU, what ultimately like goes through your mind? You're trying to compare two very different types of players as you decide what your draft board is going to look like.
You're speaking of Skeens and
Yeah,
Cruz.
and Cruz, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what you want. I mean, you'd be happy with both. Skeens is, you know, if it all works out the way it should, he profiles as a front of the rotation type starter, which is, how you win championships. But you also want to profile a guy that stays in the middle of the field. I think that's where you try to build it: catcher, shortstop, center field, those kind of guys that are offensive and have tools.
Andrew Golden, Washington Post.
Hey, Chris, you mentioned this briefly, but you guys obviously have a lot of outfield talent, especially in center field. How do you kind of see Dylan profiling, and where do you think he ends up, and what do you like about him in the outfield?
Where he profiles in center field. He runs well. Um, you have some depth in the outfield, like you said, but a couple of those guys, Elijah Green, uh, great, great athlete, good tools. He's just going to take some time to develop, and normally you're looking at 1,000 at bats, 1,500 at bats, where all of a sudden it starts to click for him a little bit. So you have to be patient there. Dylan is potentially a guy that moves relatively quickly and gets there and is here in DC fairly soon.
And then you guys used college bats for your first two picks. Did you feel like it seemed like there were a lot of college bats early on in the draft too? Do you feel like it was kind of a college heavy draft at the top of bats, and pitching? And what did you think of the college draft overall?
Yeah, for sure. There was a lot of college bats, a lot of really good college hitters, not a lot of pitching. Um, you had three or four college pitchers, so there wasn't a ton of depth. Those guys were going to fly off the board fast. But yeah, there was a lot of high school kids as well. But yeah, it was a unusual year as far as the depth of the college hitters, position players went.
Jessica Camarado, MLB.com.
Can you take us through what you saw with Morales at number 40?
Yeah, Yo-Yo. He's a big, strong, physical corner player. Surprising speed for a guy his size. He's a tick above average runner. He's a really good defender. He throws above average, and power at a corner spot. One of the loudest bats I heard this year. We were pretty happy with that one. Get him at 40.
When the draft began, he was actually ranked by MLB Pipeline as the number 20 prospect. So what were you thinking when you saw him on the board at 40? What was your reaction there?
Excited. I mean, we actually had him ranked higher than 20, so it worked out pretty good.
Bobby Blanco, MasterSports.com.
Hey, after kind of piggybacking off of Andrew's question, but you guys get two premier college bats like that, what's the upside of drafting two college bats as opposed to the two high school bats that you guys drafted in the first round the past 2 seasons?
Probably just the timetable of how they get there. Probably show up in the big leagues a little quicker unless something clicks with the other guys a little faster. But those guys are going to take a little time. But I would just say the timeline of them reaching their potential.
You guys feel like with the process that you guys are at in terms of rebuilding the major league team, that timeline, having a shorter timeline, is kind of a key in terms of how you approach the draft?
I would say on some level, you're still trying to take the best player available, but when we had Dylan at the top and we had Yo-Yo ranked really high, so to get both those kids where we did today is a positive thing for the Nats.
And Mark Zuckerman, MASNsports.com.
With Cruz, who came into LSU with all kinds of attention and hype on him and then lived up to it 3 straight years and played in, big time program, big time conference, and in the College World Series. How much did you look at not just the performance, but the stage that he was on and how he handled, a pretty big spotlight that was on him?
Yeah, that's important. I mean, that's the highest level of competition he can play at right now. And if you think about it, a lot of those pitchers and players that he's playing with or against are going to be guys that he plays with or against in the big leagues. So that's the best competition that he can face at this point. So it's, that was a good benchmark for him to evaluate him as a player.
Was the SEC this year a step above even where it has been in the past? And did that, add to that idea of really gauging how far along some of these guys are?
Yeah, I think it's probably one of the best leagues we've seen, the best the SEC has been so far. I think the reason for that is you're seeing a lot of kids from who may normally stay in the Pac-12 or the ACC. They're going to the SEC because the competition's better. There's bigger crowds. It's more appealing to them to go in and play in front of in that kind of environment.
Andrew Golden, Washington Post.
Yeah, Dylan and Yo-Yo both obviously come from programs, LSU and Miami, where they were winning is kind of a tradition. How important is it to have guys who come from those winning programs when you're trying to build a winning culture and with your organization as well?
Yeah, kind of the same thing. I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, that's, they're playing against really good competition. And so it makes it easier to evaluate them in the end. You're looking at a body of work that they've had success. In Yo-Yo's case, you can see him, he performed really well this year but he's gotten better over the last couple of years too. So Dylan's been pretty consistent and he's been the guy there. So he was a good player in high school. He took himself out of the draft and was determined to go to LSU and bet on himself, and it worked out well for him.
And we'll finish with Jessica Camerato, MLB.com.
Dylan has a wide array of skills and tools. If you had to pinpoint one that you're most excited or intrigued to see develop on the major league level, which one would it be?
The bat. I mean, he's really an advanced hitter. When Dylan's locked in, he's very skilled at driving the ball to right center and working the middle of the diamond. And I think as he progresses in the minor leagues and in the major league level, you're going to see him start to pull the ball more. And I think that's where the power will start to come into play.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Kris, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.